Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I am live. Let me make sure. Give me 1 second. For some reason, this never makes my thing public. Okay. And I'm not clear. Let me see if I clear up. All right, welcome. I don't care if I'm blurry. Let me make sure my modem is on my desk because this is weird. Happy Sunday. How are you all doing? I am doing so well. I'm so grateful for, let me just say first, I am Kristen Nicole Mann, and I do a plethora of things, but recently I've gotten back to podcasting and bringing that back since 2018. I've been doing it. And I've had some wonderful episodes so far in Wisdom Wednesdays and a plethora of great guests. And I'm looking forward to bringing more people on and having conversation about what's going on now. So today I wanted to come, this is not necessarily a podcast episode, but I wanted to come on and talk about something that I came across, and it's an actual book. And if you see my title, it's actually a book title. And I'm excited to talk about. Now, I was going live on YouTube. Then God was like, you need to go live on Facebook. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go live on here to talk about this new book that I'm reading called The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women This is part 1 for me because I only have gotten to chapter 4. It is written by, let me pull up who it's written by so I don't get their name wrong, Michael Porter. Michael Porter is the author. Now, let me show you the front of the book. This is the front of the book. It's The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Women, Michael Porter. And let me show you the back of the book. Now, I came across this on good old great TikTok. I follow some amazing people on there. This is the back cover. So, and it says, Michael Porter, author of bestseller Kill Them Before They Grow, Misdiagnosis of African-American Boys in American Classrooms, is a counselor at Savannah State University and began his professional career as an educational therapist. He has worked as a child and family therapist for a state of Georgia mental health agency, a youth advocate for at-risk youth, and 5 years as emotional behavior disorder teacher in the Georgia public school system. He operates Balanced Life consultation service, a conflict resolution service for parents and children. Michael Porter holds a master's in education and counseling. So the man knows what he's talking about. So I came across this book from TikTok, and I downloaded it this morning, like about 3 or 4 a.m. And man, I am blown away and I'm only at chapter 4. And so I can't read all the titles because some of them are very provocative or just has cursing in it. So I don't want to read some of the titles, but I can start with the first chapter. Talks about love in the Black community. Woo, that one was eye-opening because he discusses how we are trained as Black people to rush through relationships. Now, this is probably not going to be a popular live. People are not even probably going to watch. Maybe they'll watch the replay, but this whole book so far has answered so many questions for me as a Black woman. Now, I am not anti any other culture, but imagine growing up not understanding fully who you are, fully what your history is. That can do something to you. You can feel like everybody else knows their identity or something, and you're just stuck kind of like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So with this book and other things that I've recently been doing, because like my past episodes on my podcast, they've been about generations. We had Angela D. Wharton on about sexual assault. We've had the school education system, one that was on this past Wednesday. It's so much that I've talked about, and I'm honestly not tracking it to be like, oh, season 1, season 2, season 3. I'm literally just, it's called the Know or Never podcast, which either you'll know or you'll never know, but it's conversations about what's happening now. And there's an awakening in general amongst people, finding out who they are, finding out what they've been missing, finding out what they need help in. There's a lot of information out here, but what is exciting about finding information in the right way is that you get to bridge the gap with certain things that you've been struggling with, traumas. You realize you're not alone. You realize you haven't been crazy. Like, this book really helped me realize I have not been crazy. I have peep game to a lot of stuff. And I just wanted to come on here and myself and have a part 1 of what this book really means to me so far. So I will put this also on YouTube once this is done. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kristen Nicole Mann. I'm putting this up there as well. But okay, let's dive in. So right away, I told you he is discussing Black love. That's the first chapter. And let me get the title because it's only 140 something pages. So you should be able to finish this in like a day or two. But I wanted to start with, okay, so chapter 1 is When Love Hurts, Spouse Abuse and Sexual Molestation. Now, this chapter talks about a lot. It talks about the dynamics we have between each other as male and female, Black male, Black female, but specifically where the women are when it comes to being viewed as wives, someone's life partner, whatever the case may be, girlfriend. It talks about how we're trained to dive into relationships really fast. So that's almost like a trauma response to what we've seen before within our community. Like before, we've probably seen grandmas, aunties, you name it, sisters, any kind of female, as Black women, female influence, dive into relationships fast. So he really goes in depth about that. And here's one of the things. The following female behaviors and actions can trigger extreme feelings of insecurity and rage in some African-American men. A perceived show of disrespect, a change in dinner preparation routine, a visit to her mother's home, a visit to a female friend's house, a smile from a former male schoolmate, Some men respond by slapping, punching, kicking, strangling, stabbing, cussing, or drawing a gun on their wives or girlfriends. So this is all like, he's in this field, y'all. So he's seen all of these scenarios sitting in his office. The control dynamic has entered at this point. If charisma fails, then force must prevail. Of course, the wife is blamed for the destructive behavior, anger displacement. Let's examine a case in point. So he goes over a situation. I won't say all of it on here because I really want y'all to get the book. But it says, in sad and sick fashion, insecure African American men need someone to control. This need makes it impossible to have healthy, growth-oriented relationships with women. So this is only some. This is only some Black men. Now, African American men, as do African American women, live under a constant threat to our very humanity. And if there is no spiritual grounding or racial awareness in an African-centered sense, pathologically destructive behaviors will result, as seen in domestic violence. So he really breaks down a lot of where this behavior comes from. Like I said, it's not everybody, but sometimes, you know, these type of books confirm a lot of situations we observe or we've been in, or mainly we observed in our families generationally. And so this is not going to be an abuse training, but that's just what it starts out with. So I'm telling y'all, this book is probably not, if you're not ready for a deeper level of understanding, or you just don't want to know, I wouldn't purchase this book, because it's definitely eye-opening, and it could trigger you if you're not healed. But let's go to chapter 2. So this is called Beep. I don't know how I can say. I'll just say the role of women in rap music and videos. That's the second part of the title. So what he says in this key part, because I highlighted some, it said teenagers and young adults are the major audience for rap music and videos. They are being desensitized to exploitation while being conditioned to love and enjoy the exploitation of women without even knowing that this is being done to them. So he explains how the television programs that our teenagers watch, or like I used to watch when I was a teen, I used to come home, turn on MTV, BET, not understanding what these music videos was doing to me psychologically, because what it was doing to me was creating this false image of what a relationship should look like, what you should be acting like, how you should be looking exterior wise, like should you have your legs out, your bust out, whatever the case may be. It definitely shaped and molded generation upon generation when it comes to how you are supposed to appeal to who you like or get them to like you. So he was saying in this case, like, you know, teenagers are the core audience base for a lot of these artists, like the musical artists. And I think we as adults, we forget that, because social media can make it look like, you know, there's only adults going to these conferences. There's only adults that are interested in this kind of music. But when you look at the concert, there's a bunch of teenagers. I don't know if y'all remember the Scream tour, but I went to the Scream tour, and that was very high driven lust. Like, it was a lot of lustful performances. I remember the year I went, it was when Marcus Houston had out the song Naked, and he performed that. And we're like, I probably was only, I think I was like 8th grade, ninth grade. I can't remember. I wasn't in high school yet, I don't think. And he was dropping his pants and everything. But we weren't even though we weren't seeing the main show of what you see when you drop your pants, it psychologically groomed you to go ahead and give yourself to a man. That's how I perceived it. So that's what happened. And that's just one example. And then Pretty Ricky was on that tour. Pretty Ricky was a group that definitely came out like with the gusto. They were young too, but they were talking about grinding on people. And I look back, I'm like, I was so young singing these songs that I should have got slapped in the mouth. But anyways, what he says in this chapter as well, he says, I'm writing this book to let every woman know that she too, no matter what her status or place in life, is royalty. This is particularly important for African American women to know inside out, upside down, and right side up. For so long in this society, we have been given and have allowed ourselves to take the role of slave, concubine, mammy, second class, B, HOE. Many of us have been so hurt and so dogged out by society and by men and by life that we can't even wrap our brains around the notion that we deserve better, that we are queens. And so why this book is so powerful to me is because, I mean, you see back there, like my style of artistry has always been using words to empower specifically Black women and also adding a crown to the picture. Like all my pictures basically have a crown. And that was on purpose because I recognize that we as Black women, we're not the most confident. There are some Black women that are confident that we see in magazines and on TV, but day-to-day basis running into Black women, we sometimes are not the most confident in the room. We tend to take the back seat. We tend to lower ourselves and compromise a lot for other people to be pleased with us or to be to validate us or, you know, whatever the case may be. So when it comes to this book and him saying that, I'm like, he's confirming so much. And so let's go further. So he says, women are not to be protected. Women are not to be protected, loved, and respected, but are to be purchased and used. And so he's explaining what rap videos basically show everybody. Like we are, as women, especially Black women in the videos, we're to be bought and purchased and used. Well, bought and purchased means the same thing, but it's a process. So you purchase the woman and then they're used for whatever lustful things that you want to use them for. And, you know, this is stuff like we need to be talking to our teenage girls about. Like the whole reason why Grow Bloom Project that I started in 2017 was because when I wanted to do art classes, I didn't want them to just be normal. I wanted them to build a sense of self-esteem, identity, really purposeful work. And so when you're saying that to people, sometimes it's like foreign. They don't really understand what you're talking about, especially if you're not really in a area with a lot of Black people. Yeah, so that's a whole book in itself. But it said women must protest the blatant wholesale exploitation of women. Women must critique the rap songs their children listen to. Women must monitor and boycott rap videos that exploit women. Women must protest rap concerts that feature violent, exploitative rap artists. So let me stop right there. So remember Travis Scott. All right. He had his concert. Now, he didn't necessarily have a woman on the stage, but that's an example of the influence going the wrong way, like influence going left, because his influence drew all these people to come to his concert. But what happened is some of them didn't make it out, because sometimes rap concerts can be violent environments. And I can only imagine a woman, maybe early 20s, maybe in her late teens, going into these environments and thinking that they're just gonna have fun, and they're not gonna make, nobody thinks they're not gonna make it out of these situations. But what if these men are like just touching them, without their consent? It's a lot that goes on. And the reason why he puts this in the book, because he also states how they say destructive videos and songs are art. So there's a whole society that doesn't stand up to this stuff because they think that it's art. Everything is shoved under the art title, but it says women must challenge African American rap artists about exploiting their own people. The role of women in rap music and videos must be changed from negative to positive. I recommend that women call, write, and email all stations that offend them. Second, involve the entire family and have your children and husband also express their dissatisfaction. So he's explaining how, families don't really protest this stuff. Like mothers, they don't really say nothing. Their sons are, they're shoved, the images are shoved to our sons, and they turn into these people, and they look up to it. So that was only chapter 2. So chapter 3 was about single Black female. And so he puts this question in the book, and he says, how is it that in some African and Asian countries, women and men marry and remain married to a virtual stranger who was chosen for them by their families? The answer is because they live under a different value system. So in this chapter 3, single Black female, he talks about how Black women aren't really valued within the marriage union or sector. Excuse me. We have a lot of I'm trying to figure out what I can read on here and what I can't. I can't, because it's so good, but a lot of it might get let me see what I can read. I have several African friends who never met their wives until both families had decided on a particular woman. In America, we are free to date and marry. He put free with quotation marks. Free to date and marry the person of our choice, but most of our relationships fail. Something is seriously wrong, and that something is the value system developed by patriarchal white supremacy. So I don't want to read the whole thing, but this is a lot to digest. So yeah, in the single Black female, he's like going over that. And then he talks about extreme perversion of men and how they look at Black women, because what we get looked at as people go off of the body, they go off of the face, they go off of all these like attributes that don't matter. And they don't necessarily look at, can you like manage being a wife? Can you apply wifely characteristics to our marriage? So he's going over that, and he says, I love the way she looks. This is just someone, let me go back. It is common to hear a man say in response to being questioned about his love for a woman that, in quotation marks, I love the way she looks and the way she makes me feel. End quotation mark. Lust is often mistaken for love. He goes in, y'all, because that is the truth. Lust is often mistaken for love. I don't even think people even know what love is. I mean, reading this, I'm like, he says these type of values do not work for white families, and they have a built-in safety net under patriarchal white supremacy. So he really points out a system that we're under. There's like an underlying system that is not spoken upon. It's just like, basically, don't speak about it, just go with it. Go with the flow. So yeah, what else? Oh, there's so much. Okay, after becoming accustomed to his woman's body, too many men eventually turn their attention to the body of another woman. This is a sick game of man meets women. Man has sex with women. Man becomes disinterested with women. Man seeks and meets other women. Man leaves broken hearts and lonely children along the way. Such madness usually takes place after a very superficial dating game in which both men and women avoid serious discussion and manifest little, if any, patience before becoming sexually intimate. This is stuff we don't talk about in the Black community, like immaturity in relationships, because what he explains, you have to get the book, because he goes through breaking down why we as a culture go through a fast track of trying to get together, and then we just are disposable of whoever we get involved with, and once we get what we get, we're disposable. He's like, somewhere we've been trained to be like this, and he poses a lot of questions. So, like I said, this book is eye-opening. I'm only on chapter 4. He said, our so-called freedom is in reality a destructive programmed way of thinking and acting. Then it says, the goal to confuse and divide us for sole purpose of maintaining our victim status under patriarchal white supremacy. Lord. So it has those words a lot. I really believe that our people have to be more open to reading this kind of thing, like stuff from professionals, because this is not just anybody writing this book. This is someone that has done the social work, been in the school systems, like my last episode featuring LaKeely Hampton. We talked about the school system. We talked about the pipeline to prison. We talked about things that need to be an ongoing conversation. And, people look at me as, or they might look at me as just, oh, you're the artist. Why are you trying to step up and talk about this stuff? Well, because nobody else is. Nobody else is. And I'm tired of the white elephant in the room. Like, we have to start talking about this, because we are raising kids. They're coming up, they're looking at us as examples. But let's go on. This one is good. The dynamic of materialism in American society places extreme stress on African male victims of, This stress serves the dual function of destroying African families and strengthening patriarchal white supremacy. Extreme materialism causes people to view potential mates from a monetary perspective only. Did you hear that? This stress, I'm going to go over that again. This stress serves the dual function of destroying African families and strengthening I didn't want to say that again. Extreme materialism causes people to view potential mates from a monetary perspective only. This is not good. If a woman only seeks a man with a substantial income and fails to examine his beliefs, attitudes, and values, she has set herself up for failure. She will, in essence, become another one of his purchases. He purchased her and now he owns her. Oh my God. Money is good to have, but it does not make the man. It is better to have a man who is willing to legitimately support his family spiritually and economically, even if it means throwing newspapers 7 days a week, than to have a banker who abuses women. Now, when he talked about throwing the newspapers, it reminded me of my dad, because he actually did that on the side. When I was in high school, he picked up delivering the paper. And when I tell you that man, looking back, I'm like, he did the necessary things to take care of his family. And it didn't matter what role or position that was. He was living a life of humility. So he didn't care about cleaning toilets or anything. He did what he needed to do. We don't have people like that no more on both sides, the women or the men. So yeah, for many African American males, the end result of financial frustration is the new slave plantation called prison. So then he talks about prison, how with more African American males in prison than in college, there promises to be some rough days ahead for African American male relationships. So this is 2001 this was written. So he's talking this is 20 years ago that this was written. I believe 20. No, there's more than 20. But you get my drift. It was over 20 years ago. So we are false victim mode. I'm not trying to read that much because so the fourth chapter that I finished this morning was about HIV and AIDS. And we're the highest as Black women. We're now the highest group in America to have HIV and AIDS. Now, this was not, it did not start off like that, but he breaks down really what brought us to that point. And you know how women were in these situations that led to people contracting it. It's a lot, but he used the scripture, Jesus wept, John 11:35. So I'm trying to see what I can read from here that I can say. A lot of this stuff I can't say online. I really wanted to go over it, but I'm hoping that I'm giving at least a little bit. But y'all, I don't know. Y'all want to do a book club on this? Because I surely will. I will do it with a certain amount of people. But this book is, I don't care. I'm gonna read the whole thing. I'll probably be done by tomorrow because that's how fascinating it is. And I am going to start introducing you all to books that you could be reading to knowledge is power. Now, I'm not going to be giving y'all a bunch of new age books. This is not what I'm doing, but I'm going to give books that make you think. Like, for instance, I have so many books. So one of the books I bought was Culture Hacks, and this is by Richard Conrad. And I don't know if you can see that. So that is deciphering differences in American, Chinese, and Japanese thinking. So all my stuff is not about Black or white supremacy. I really try to diversify my books. I have this other book called, well, this is probably popular to some people, but Leaders Eat Last. Let me show y'all the Leaders. I'm trying to show y'all the tagline cover. Okay, I don't know. I'll probably just Leaders Eat Last. There's that. I read the book Steal Like an Artist. There's this book, this good book called When Narcissism Comes to Church. I gotta finish that one. Let's see. I have Kenneth Hagin, Blueprint for Building Strong Faith. I got a lot of books, y'all, that we could be going over. So that is all for today. I just wanted to get on and say subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is going to be put up there. I say up there, like on there. It's going to be put on. I have more episodes coming for you for the No or Never podcast. Right now, I'm just uploading the live episodes to YouTube, but I do have past episodes on Spotify and Apple. All the way, I think Spotify goes all the way back to like 2018. When I just started and didn't really know what I was going to do. But y'all, if it ever gets to the point where you only have money for food or a book, I would get the book. Because the book is going to tell you how to get out of stuff. The book is going to give you some wisdom and knowledge. And I'm going to go ahead and probably purchase his other book that the author of the book that we're going over, because he's got a lot. So I'm going to get off, but I hope you all had a great Sunday, or will still enjoy your Sunday. And stay tuned for Wisdom Wednesday and other podcast episodes coming up. And artwork, if you need artwork, KristenNicoleMan.com. It's scrolling. And also, I will be taking down my art prints off my website completely. So y'all better get on that, because I'm going to only be selling them in person. And, you know, that's not in the same locations. They could be in New York. It could be in North Carolina. It could be in Atlanta. It could be in California. So the whole in-person thing, you might not be near where I'm going. So definitely check out all the 40 options that I have for prints. And that's about it. Keep striving, keep going, and I will talk to you soon.